it is rolling out the national management plan for land. If we manage our land well as a country and distribute the populations into places which avoid wildlife protected areas, wildlife dispersal areas, wildlife corridors, then we are securing the future. I just want to tell my fellow Kenyans, wildlife supports a huge industry in the country, and it goes beyond tourism, because the protected areas system supports tourism, which contributes 15% of GDP, which means 15% of national income. Yeah. We also support the entire water industry. KWS protects all the water towers except one, which is Mau. So we protect your water. The entire water for Nairobi comes from Abadeas, yes, which is a national park.
You protect it?
Yes, and we protect. We also protect Mount Kenya. We protect Mount Elgon. So all these water towers are supported by the wildlife industry. And water literally is life. So we support, in our estimation, between 25 and 30% of Kenya's GDP.
1/3.
1/3 of Kenya's GDP is supported by the wildlife industry. That explains why whoever becomes director of KWS is controversial, because you directly and indirectly affect Kenya's economy in incredible ways.
And there were 12 directors between 1989 and when you stepped in.
I was the 13th. I was arriving at it, probably.
You're lucky 13.
Yes, lucky 13.
Yes.
And the challenges for being director of KWS arise from its mandate. Its mandate is very wide. When you run KWS, you are running 6 institutions in one. The 6 are, you are in charge of policy, because the law was crafted with only director of KWS in mind. You're also in charge of regulating the entire industry. So KWS is the regulator of the industry. You are also the operator. You're in charge of the entire park operations, and that is why we have people in Narok, which is not a KWS park, but the law gives us the mandate to manage security of wildlife and manage human-wildlife conflict.
Before you go to the other 3 directors, explain to me, what do you mean the Mara is not part of KWS? That doesn't make any sense.
The owner of the land is Narok County Council. The entire Masai Mara is trust land, and trust lands are community lands entrusted to local authorities.
So all the money that's made in that park, from that park, goes to the council?
Yes, and our estimate is $25 million. $25 million should be earned ordinarily as part of revenue of Narok County Council.
That's what, 2 billion shillings?
2 billion shillings. So that would make Narok County Council the richest local authority, rural local authority in East and Central Africa. And so therefore you should be seeing them having the best schools, the best hospitals, the best roads, because they have the money.
And they have none of that?
I don't know now.
No.
How they use the money should be something which should be investigated by auditors and others.
Director, that is criminal. I'm sorry to say, but that is criminal, that they could make 2 billion shillings a year and that place is the way it is.
30% of all the visitors that come to Kenya end up in Masai Mara in one way or another. So it is our #1 protected area in the country. The only thing I'm unhappy about is the way they manage that jewel. And it's not a jewel for Narok alone. It's actually, Masai Mara is almost equivalent to Kenya's brand. So if something goes wrong in Masai Mara, it has ramifications for the image of the country. And that is one thing which I would like us to have a national debate about. You know, how much responsibility should we give to a local authority to manage an important wildlife space like that? Yep. Because if you read conservation literature, they say Masai Mara is classified as one of the best wildlife real estate in the world, because it's beautiful. And that's why it keeps making people come again and again and again and again. It's a beautiful country. It's wonderful. And for us, we need to classify those as national jewels and be managed with the same integrity, with the same level of consciousness.
Yeah. And yet, you have people in there. You have rangers in the Mara.
I have 50 of them.
Whom you pay?
I pay using our own internal resources to support a local authority, which is the richest in the region.
Director, you know, that is tragic. That is tragic.
It's something to think about as a country. We need to really evaluate and say, if local authorities must manage them, they must manage them to the best management standard possible.
And yet 2 billion shillings a year, Director, a year. What, do they have anything to account for that?
I think that question we should address that question to the County Council of Narok and ask them, you have the biggest revenue earner for any local authority in the country. You should actually be the best example of spending that money to the public. When I go to Narok and I talk to the Koinange, they are very unhappy about this resource which God has given them, sitting on their land and attracting so many tourists, but little of that money goes to the Koinange. And that is something which we need to initiate national debate about.
That is so wrong, Director. That is so wrong. I want to talk more about that after the break, because I think viewers are probably hearing this for the first time, and to me it's tragic. To them, it's probably criminal. Yes. To the future of this ecosystem. I mean, you talked about the Mao a few minutes ago. You don't control the Mao.
We don't control the Mao.
I want to talk about that. Why not? And because a quarter of the Mao is gone and still going. And also, there's a job you're being touted for. Are you going to take it? Would you be interested? Let's take a break. Julius Kipng'tich, folks, the director. This man knows management through and through. He is the manager. He turned around a non-performing parastatal called KWS, and today it's making 3.8 billion shillings a year. But Narok County Council is making 2 billion with the park alone, and they can't even touch it. Does that make sense? Do the math. Corruption 101, if you ask me. The bench exposes all, folks. Don't even think of going away, because you know that we are back in a moment.